Hello, my name is Jesse Anderson. Today I'd like to show you the demo that I wrote for a Confluent booth for Strata 2015. In this demo, we created a real-time dashboard that uses Kafka behind the scenes to show information. In this demo, we might imagine having a data source similar to a Spotify, Apple Music, Google Music, where people are playing music and on both free and paid tiers. So to start off with, we'll take a look at the demo, and then we'll peel back some of the layers of it and talk about what each one of those is. To start off with, we have Kafka streams and raw data. In the Kafka streams, we're showing aggregations. We're showing real-time aggregations. In this case, we're showing how many times each artist was played, and then how many times each one of a song was played. Now what we're doing is we're keeping it to the top 10. So in this case, we're seeing Kings of Leon was played the most, followed by Coldplay, followed by Muse. All of this aggregation is being done in real time by Kafka streams, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Then we have our songs. You're the One being played 55 times, and Do being played 44, 49, so on and so forth. Then we have another aggregation showing the total amount played during that time. In this case, we played 34 days worth of songs. Then we get into the raw data. So this is aggregation data. Then we have our raw data. In this raw data, we're showing how many people are playing a particular song from either the free or paid tiers. In this case, we have 4 people coming in the paid tier, then 2. We saw before, now you can see that there are 2 people playing on the free tier. So as a business, when you're looking at your dashboard, this is something that you want to keep track of, that the free continues to go, but the paid goes up higher and higher. Then we have which page they're hitting. In this case, we're hitting next song. We also have various pages on the website that are being shown. So generally, for a Spotify-esque sort of company, what we want is to see lots of people playing the next song, keeping on playing that music, coming to our homepage, then playing that music. Then we have a map, and this map is also being updated in real time, as you can see. Each one of these locations on the map is showing where that person is actually hitting that music from or playing that page from. So we have, in this case, we have one person hitting there, and as you can see, this time there's quite a few more and quite a few different people hitting from around the US. Each of these is being updated in real time. We're getting lat-long information and then plotting that using a D3 map. So before I forget, all of these charts are being updated in real time using D3. Now let's take a look at the actual data flow. In this case, we'll see exactly how things are moving on the page and what sort of technologies we're using. So in this case, going from left to right, we're showing our data flow. From left to right, we see our data source. In this case, our data source was EventSim, and that's a data set that mimics sort of a Spotify, an Apple Music, or a Google Music, something like that. That data comes through here, and then it goes into our Kafka cluster. Our Kafka cluster is the first point where all of this data comes in. So that gives us access to raw data, and that raw data is what we're showing above there. Then we have Kafka streams. Kafka streams is taking in that raw data, processing it, doing all those aggregations that we saw, counting the number of songs, counting the number of artists, counting the total amount of play. And then it will do those aggregations and then push that data all the way back into our Kafka cluster. Then one of the more interesting things about this page is not using a Java servlet or any sort of servlet or any sort of backend for it. What it's using is the Kafka REST server. This allows the web page to actually make RESTful calls into the Kafka REST server, where in turn the Kafka REST server just acts as a regular consumer. So what we have here on the web page is we have all these diagrams here being updated in real time, and the way that they're pulling their data is through the web page using a jQuery AJAX call. Then that AJAX call is being translated into a Kafka consumer call, and then that data flows back, and then we can start looking at this. So to look at this now, the Kafka streams, we have our aggregation from our Kafka streams, then we're also showing our raw data as it comes in directly from our data source. There's another piece of information that we have, and that's latency metrics. What we can do here is we can get information about what's happening in our Kafka cluster. And what I've done is I've written a processor, a producer and consumer, that actually goes through the JMX and produces it out on a topic. From there, we're acting as a consumer on that web page to show this. So here we have our consumer latency. We can see that over time, consumer latency is pretty low. Then we have our produce total time, our messages in and out, our broker messages in and out. So we get some interesting information where this diagram or this dashboard could be done at aggregate or could be done at scale, where we could be a large company and actually show this, have this be the source of our data sets and the source of our dashboards that we show around the company. Now let's take a look at the actual processes running behind the scenes. So here our first process that we have running is the actual event sim data. If you want to go take a look at this, their URL will be there on the screen. And this is, once again, it's basically simulating a Spotify-esque sort of data set. I have it set up to give some information to output that so that we can then process it and display it. Then we have our Kafka streams. This is our Kafka streams. The code for this is open source as well, though Kafka streams as of right now has not been released, but you can see the source code that was behind it. And once again, this is the source code doing the aggregations for us. Then we have our producer of metrics data. So that's what this is doing. It's going in and it's processing and pulling all the data out of our Kafka broker. Then it's producing that into a topic. So here, this is also open source so that you could take a look through it if you so desired. With that, I hope that you learned a little bit about how you could use Kafka as the source and source of data for dashboarding. And when I teach Kafka, this is a general flow that I recommend, where you bring in data, you process that data as well, but using the REST server, you could actually show both the raw data as well as the aggregate data. I'd like to thank you for taking some time to go through this demo, and I wish you the best of luck.